What happens when the value of a single factory component falls by 70% almost overnight? Across global markets, billions of dollars can disappear in plain sight, while the world remains focused on a completely different technological battle. Hidden deep inside everyday electronic hardware, a quiet industrial transformation is taking place. At the center of this market shift, several specialized technology companies have come under severe financial pressure. Wolfspeed, a major manufacturer of silicon carbide wafers used in electric vehicles, watched the price of its main product collapse. A standard 6-inch wafer, which previously sold for around $1,500, fell to below $500 in just 2 years. As a result of this rapid market change, Wolfspeed's stock fell by 96% from its peak value in 2021. But while most news coverage focuses on advanced artificial intelligence processors, these cutting-edge chips represent only a small fraction of total global demand. In reality, 95% of all silicon chips manufactured around the world belong to older production categories known as legacy nodes. These mature chips do not power the latest smartphones or the most advanced artificial intelligence data centers. Instead, they operate medical equipment, power grids, industrial machinery, household appliances, and vehicle control systems. Their economic importance is enormous. A survey conducted by the United States Department of Commerce examined 97 companies representing $3 trillion in annual corporate revenue. The study found that these businesses spent $111 billion on chip inventory alone. That represents around 1/6 of total global chip sales. Without these basic microcontrollers, modern physical manufacturing can come to a complete stop. Between 2023 and 2025, China rapidly expanded its position in this foundational part of the semiconductor market. By 2025, China controlled 28% of global mature node chip production. Projections suggest that its market share could reach 39% by 2027. When individual manufacturing sizes are examined, the scale becomes even clearer. In 2024, China controlled 27% of global production capacity for chips between 20 and 45 nanometers. It also controlled 30% of capacity for chips between 50 and 180 nanometers. To build this manufacturing base, China constructed 26 new semiconductor plants between 2022 and 2026. Taiwan built 19 new facilities during the same period. By the end of 2024, China was exporting semiconductor products worth $144 billion. That represented an increase of 18.8% compared with the previous year. China's total semiconductor export volume reached 271 billion units in 2024. Per-unit shipments increased by 11% year over year. This enormous rise in production created serious concern among Western trade officials. In April 2024, United States Secretary of Commerce Gina Raimondo spoke publicly in Leuven, Belgium. She warned about the rapid expansion of Chinese manufacturing capacity. Raimondo said that around 60% of all new legacy chips entering the market over the following several years would be produced by China. She also warned that the Chinese government was heavily subsidizing the industry. According to Raimondo, this could create major distortions across the global semiconductor market. Her warning followed earlier comments made during an American Enterprise Institute panel in July 2023. At that event, Raimondo highlighted the scale of China's government support. She said the amount of money China was investing in mature and legacy chip production could create significant excess capacity. She argued that the United States and its allies needed to address the issue before it became more difficult to control. The financial system supporting China's semiconductor expansion relies heavily on state-backed funding. In 2024, Chinese chipmaker SMIC received $411 million in direct government subsidies. That single payment represented 87% of the company's total operating profit for the year. Without those government funds, SMIC's operating income would have been only $62 million. Historical evidence shows that this pattern of support has existed for years. Between 2014 and 2018, government subsidies received by SMIC represented approximately 40% of the company's total revenue. During the same period, major global competitors, including TSMC, Intel, and Samsung, received government subsidies equal to 3% or less of their total revenue. A major study by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development revealed an even broader financial structure. Between 2014 and 2018, 4 major Chinese semiconductor companies received extensive state-backed support. These companies were SMIC, Huahong JCET and Tsinghua Unigroup. Together, they benefited from an estimated $5 billion to $15 billion in below-market equity investments, low-cost land grants, and tax credits. However, China's focus on legacy chips was not necessarily part of a perfectly planned strategy from the beginning. Industry analysis suggests that it was partly created by Western export restrictions. When Western governments restricted China's access to extreme ultraviolet lithography equipment, also known as EUV equipment, Chinese factories could no longer easily manufacture leading-edge chips below 14 nanometers. Unable to compete freely at the most advanced level, Chinese companies redirected their investments. They focused on mature manufacturing technologies that could still use accessible deep ultraviolet equipment, also known as DUV tools. These tools allowed Chinese companies to produce chips at 28 nanometers and above. As a direct consequence, Western trade restrictions pushed Chinese manufacturers into the exact market segment that powers everyday commercial products across Western economies. Despite growing international trade pressure, Chinese chip makers continued to follow an aggressive strategy. In February 2025, SMIC chief executive Zhao Haijun spoke to investors during an earnings report. He said the company would confront competitive pressure directly in order to protect its market share. However, experts remain divided over China's true technological position. Semiconductor veteran and TSMC founder Morris Chang has repeatedly downplayed China's ability to overtake the leading edge of the industry. During a speech in April 2024, Chang said mainland China had distributed tens of billions of dollars in subsidies over the previous 20 years. Despite that investment, he said China remained around 5 years behind TSMC. He also said China's logic chip design capabilities remained between 1 and 2 years behind the United States and Taiwan. Artificial intelligence industry leaders have offered a different assessment. In April 2025, NVIDIA chief executive Jensen Huang spoke at the Hill and Valley Forum in Washington, D.C. Huang said China was not behind. He described Huawei as one of the most formidable technology companies in the world. According to Huang, China was directly behind the United States, and the technological gap was extremely small. He described the semiconductor competition as a long-term and potentially endless race. By December 2024, Western policy discussions had started reflecting this difficult reality. During an interview with the Wall Street Journal, Gina Raimondo acknowledged the limitations of attempting to restrain China through trade restrictions alone. She said that trying to hold China back was a fool's errand. According to Raimondo, the only reliable way to defeat China technologically was to remain ahead of it. While Western governments struggled to create effective policy barriers, another major transformation was taking place inside semiconductor boardrooms. Leading Asian manufacturers, including TSMC and Samsung, began reducing their focus on mature manufacturing nodes, seeking the higher profit margins created by the artificial intelligence boom. Both companies concentrated more capital on advanced fabrication below 3 nanometers. This movement of capital created a sudden gap in the production of everyday mature chips. Western mature node manufacturers did not necessarily enter a direct price war with China. Instead, they took advantage of the space that TSMC and Samsung had left behind. The underdogs did not fight China head-on. They allowed the largest Asian manufacturers to leave the mature chip battlefield, and then began taking parts of that market back. Companies such as Texas Instruments, Global Foundries, and NXP moved to meet growing demand for secure semiconductor supply chains outside China. In 2025, Texas Instruments secured $670 million in direct federal grants through the United States CHIPS Act. The funding formed part of the company's wider plan to invest more than $60 billion in new manufacturing facilities across the United States. Instead of reducing prices to compete directly with Chinese factories, Texas Instruments used supply security as a competitive advantage. The company increased its prices twice during 2025. Selected legacy chip lines experienced price increases ranging from 10% to 70%. In May 2026, Texas Instruments announced a third round of increases. This time, prices rose by between 10% and 30%. Financial markets rewarded the company's pricing power. Texas Instruments stock gained 64% in 2026. By concentrating on reliable industrial supply, the company also transformed its customer base. Industrial, automotive, and data center customers represented 75% of its revenue. That figure had increased significantly from 43% in 2013. At the same time, United States-based Global Foundries expanded its position in automotive semiconductor components. In 2025, the company generated an estimated $1.5 billion in annualized automotive revenue. To support long-term production, Global Foundries committed €1.1 billion to expanding its facility in Dresden, Germany. The company aims to increase the facility's capacity to more than 1 million wafers per year by 2028. Chinese factories were operating near or sometimes above 100% capacity as they pushed greater volumes into the market. Global Foundries followed a different model. Its 8-inch wafer facilities operated at approximately 70% utilization. The company focused on profit margins, reliable contracts, and long-term stability instead of maximum production volume. Global manufacturers also began searching for suppliers located outside major geopolitical friction zones. During a 2025 earnings call, Global Foundries chief executive Tim Breen explained how customer priorities were changing. He said customers were increasingly prioritizing semiconductor supplies from outside China and Taiwan, while also looking for more production inside the United States. European semiconductor companies also identified new commercial opportunities created by international trade disputes. In April 2025, ST Microelectronics chief executive Jean-Marc Cherry spoke to Reuters. He explained that rising tariffs on American suppliers could create opportunities for European companies inside the Chinese market. According to Cherry, ST Microelectronics could become an alternative supplier for Chinese customers facing higher costs from American competitors. Even while mature chip manufacturers restructure their businesses, technological development inside China continues. Chinese state-backed companies, including Huawei and Huahong, are working with domestic technology groups such as Huawei and SMIC. Together, they are actively developing 7-nanometer production processes. This indicates that China's semiconductor investments will not remain limited to mature manufacturing nodes forever. At the same time, specialized component manufacturers remain highly vulnerable to sudden market price changes. Companies that focus on silicon carbide and advanced power components face a particularly difficult environment. When heavily subsidized production enters the market, this makes it difficult for specialized companies to recover their investments and restore profit margins. The wider structure of international semiconductor trade has now undergone a permanent transformation. TSMC founder Morris Chang summarized this global industrial shift during the Commonwealth Semiconductor Forum in March 2023. Chang said there was no question in his mind that globalization in the semiconductor industry was dead. He warned that as manufacturing costs increased, the widespread use of chips could either stop growing or expand much more slowly. The battle over global semiconductor manufacturing remains active. On one side stands heavily subsidized production volume. On the other stands strategic supply security. International companies must now balance lower costs against the reliability of their supply chains. As this competition continues, the global market for essential microcontrollers is reshaping international manufacturing, economic policy, and international trade. This is no longer simply a race to produce the world's smallest chip. It is a battle to control the ordinary components that keep the modern world running.